So hi, hello and welcome, Microbehunter here. Today I would like to make a little mini aquarium, and I'm not going to use a standard aquarium equipment, but rather would like to convert a large glass jar into a beautiful tiny aquarium for water fleas, because I like to observe them also under the microscope. And at the end of this video I'm also going to put a little snail under the microscope as well, a snail that I found also in this new little aquarium. Well, first of all, where did I get the jar from? There was a jar standing on my window already for over a year, and look, it looks pretty ugly. Plenty of algae growing in there, but not many interesting water microorganisms. Yeah, it already started to decompose a little bit, and I decided it's time to dump everything and completely start from scratch. The first thing that I had to do was to actually get it properly cleaned. There are lots of calcium carbonate water stains on the inside of the jar, and removing them is fairly, or should be fairly easy, with vinegar. And I added some vinegar and did some scrubbing with some tissue paper, and this actually did work, but well, it didn't work all the way. So there were still some water stains left, and I went up with the concentration of the vinegar, and after a couple of minutes later I was actually more or less successful, and I was satisfied with the result. I added some pebbles as well, and those pebbles I had to clean first. After all, there's some leaves and some wooden sticks, maybe even some soil, and it's important as well not to use any detergent. So you shouldn't use any soap or anything like that, because any soap that's left will actually harm any water microorganisms. And after all, the water fleas that I would like to grow in there, well, they might not like the soap at all. So I did rinse the pebbles several times, also with hot water. I put them into the glass jar, and those pebbles are also important because they give sufficient surface area for bacterial growth and also growth of algae, which are both important as a food source for the water crustaceans and the water microorganisms that I'm going to grow in there. Yes, it's also important to make sure that there will be enough oxygen in the aquarium, and this is done best by water plants. The name of this plant is Egeria densa, or also Elodia densa. These are two related water plants that are very common because they like to grow very quickly inside aquariums. I wanted to plant it vertically so that they are spread apart and they're able to catch enough sunlight, and that's why I wrapped them in a little bit of sponge and then made sure that they're properly planted inside the pebbles. Then everything is filled up with water, and after a couple of minutes I could already see that there were tiny oxygen bubbles on the leaves of the water plant, showing that photosynthesis is happening, and the plant evidently feels quite happy in this jar. Yes, and now the interesting part. I'm now adding some of the water fleas. Now, I collected this water sample also several months ago. It contains hundreds of tiny water fleas, Daphnia, copepods, ostracods, a whole range of different water crustaceans. My worry was a little bit that they might not survive the change in water, the change in the osmotic potential of the water, but luckily it was fine. They survived, and they were swimming around happily, and I added a little bit of dry yeast as a food source, and indeed then after a short time they started to reproduce. I could also see that other water crustaceans started to increase in number, so the ostracods started to increase again. So usually it's quite normal that you have a shift in the composition when you change the environment around. Yes, and then I took out one of those water crustaceans and put them under the microscope. I could see that, yes, one of them even carried some tiny babies inside the body and actually even gave birth. And so you can see life under the microscope inside a tiny little aquarium is quite nice to observe as well. And last but not least, the snails. The snails are very important also for making sure that there are not too many algae growing on the inner surface of the glass jar, because what they do is they will basically shave off any deposits of algae, any biofilms that are growing on the leaves, on the rocks, and also on this inside of the glass. And this way they're also keeping the mini aquarium quite nice. No need to add any bubbly air, because the water plant, if you provide enough light will make sure that there will be enough oxygen present. Nice little afternoon activity that I can recommend, can be beautifully combined also with a hobby of microscopy. I hope that this also has given you now a little bit of inspiration to try something out. I wish you all the best. Happy microbe hunting as always. See you around next time. Bye bye.